Welcome back to the Cart Barn podcast. Hope everybody survived the holidays, didn't gain too much weight, and now we're kind of in the throes of winter. It's cold outside, spitting snow. Not ideal for golfers, but this week we've got a great guest that he's not a household name probably to a lot of people, but he's got a great story. Dave Schreyer, the golf coach, director of golf at Huntington College down in Montgomery. For me, I didn't know much about his backstory until we started talking to him, Chris, but learning about his days at Huntington College and kind of the little team that such a powerhouse program back in the day. So it's going to be a fascinating interview with Dave.
Yeah, Dave's someone that I've known for a long time, playing back in college against each other, saw them all the time because we played a lot of the same tournaments. And obviously some of the teammates are guys that I know as well. But Dave tells some stories about growing up with his sister, Cindy Schreyer, many of you have heard of. She played on the LPGA Tour and she won out there. And he transitions into his time as a player at Huntington. Scott Warzeka, Jim Meeks, and most notably Joe Durant, names that you might know. And certainly Joe has had a really good career on the PGA Tour. He tells a story about playing in the 97 U.S. Open at Congressional in the third round with Tiger Woods, which I think you'll find pretty interesting. And then kind of rounds out the podcast talking about he's now the head coach and director of golf at Huntington, his alma mater, and some of his coaching philosophies and some of the challenges that golf coaches are faced in today's climate. So let's get into this week's podcast with Dave Schreyer.
Yep. Welcome to the Cart Barn podcast. I'm Chris Lemley, joined by Greg DeWalt. Today, we're pleased to welcome Dave Schreyer, the director of golf and men's head golf coach at Huntington. Dave, welcome to the Cart Barn.
Hey, Chris, thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys having me.
Great to have you on. Looking forward to chatting over the next few minutes about everything Huntington golf and your career.
Thanks, Greg.
Let's just kind of jump right in, Dave. How'd you get introduced to the game? I know your older sister, Cindy, was quite a pretty good player of her own right. And so just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Growing up, come from a golfing family. My grandfather was a big golfer, and my mom. And my dad played basketball at Kentucky back in the 40s, and he met my mom, and my mom took him out and beat him, and that wasn't happening for him. So he being a guy who was an athlete, he wasn't going to have his wife beat him at a sport. So he took up the game, and as we grew up, we just kind of grew up just playing golf. Me and my sister and my dad and my grandfather, and kind of took off from there. So he had a great career at Georgia, and then 17 years on the LPGA. She was just inducted into the Georgia Golf Hall of Fame this past year. So excited for her with that. She had a tremendous career.
So awesome. How confrontational were the matches between you and she?
Oh, growing up, yeah, that was, we were best friends, so I wouldn't say it was confrontational. We always like to beat each other because we're both competitive, but she paved the way for me. She was 4 years ahead of me. So, all the things that she did, I benefited from her success over the years and growing together, up as she was the one just had the grab it, hit it mentality. And I was the one that was the technical one. So we had a great mix between the two of us. We'd go take a lesson and she would look at me and go, "What was he saying to me?" And I would have to explain it to her, but it was kind of a good, she was good with the mental. She was really strong mentally and everything. So she always helped me with that. I always kind of helped her with the technical stuff. So.
Do you remember beating her for the first time?
I can't, thinking back, no, I don't remember that part. I don't think we ever really had that much of a rivalry as far as trying to beat each other. I know, she played high school golf in Georgia on the men's team, and she was the number one team that made it to the state, with a bunch of good players. I played against Lewis Brown, who just won the senior amateur. He was in Noonan High School, and Cindy was at Fayette High School, and she was playing number one against Lewis's number one matches, back in the day. So, yeah. So I remember she beat Lewis several times. So, she was a really good player. Still is, got a great looking golf swing. Always has.
Well, I'd say both of you have a great looking golf swing, but yeah. Junior golf back in our day, Dave, wasn't quite what it is today. But any junior golf memories or anything you think of?
Yeah, I was a good junior, and I was tall and skinny, and junior golf. I wasn't really recruited heavily by the D1 guys. I was recruited by them, but they weren't really after me that much. I ended up at Huntington because of that. And it was a great fit for me because we had a powerhouse team back then, but we were so good. We were smoking the D1s that were we're smoking Alabama and Auburn back in those days.
That's
we were the best
I want to
team
get
in the
into
state of
that here in just a
Alabama.
minute.
Yeah, we were the best team in Alabama by far in the 80s. And one of the best teams in the country. So
absolutely.
Yeah, my college career is where I took off. I think, it's just kind of just being around the guys that I was in. That was a great fit for me. I made the best choice coming to where I did, and that was where my game blossomed.
Yeah. How did you end up at Huntington?
I have to say that Puggy Blackman at Tech, he was the one that kind of sent me over here. I was recruited by Georgia a little bit, but not as much as I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to go, and Copus wasn't really having it. So South Carolina was after me, and then I went to Florida, Auburn, and Tech, and I decided on Tech, and Puggy just really didn't have a spot for me. The man that he is, he's such a great guy. He picked up the phone and called Steve over here at Huntington at that time, and said, "Hey, I got a guy who's really good. You might want him for a year or so. I might try to pick him up in a year or so. Kind of thing." And kind of almost like a JUCO kind of time thing back then. And I came to Huntington, liked it, liked Steve immediately, guys on the team. And I played immediately, which was nice. I stepped into a program that was elite at that time, and guys were really good players, and it was just kind of, we played against, we basically played a D1 schedule back then, and played against Auburn, Alabama, and Florida, and Georgia, and Houston, and just top 20 teams, Oklahoma State, and we held our ground, and won quite a few tournaments.
Yeah, you did. Since we're there, let's go ahead and jump in. This is a story that I think is fascinating, and a lot of the people listening may not be aware of it. I know some of them aren't, but you mentioned playing the schedule that you played, and there was a tournament out in Houston at the Woodlands one time.
You need John Sadie about that one. John tells that story better than anybody.
Well, we won't get John on here, but tell the story about little NAIA Huntington going out there to the Woodlands. That's a great story.
So it's the top 25, or top 20 something teams in Division One, and Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and a lot of the just everybody that was there. And Arkansas was there, yeah. Oklahoma State was, I think, Verplank and
right,
Watt,
Quay,
and Pfister, and those guys. They were really good.
Yeah.
And then Todd Hamilton was Oklahoma, and Daly was at Arkansas, and John was at Arkansas. And so John tells the story that we were they were having the team meeting the day before the tournament, and he tells the story that, hey, we gotta be careful of Huntington, and they're like, Huntington, who's Huntington? And he goes, the team from my hometown, they're really good. And then he said they were all laughing, about, Huntington, we got to worry about them. You got Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, this and that. He goes, lo and behold, that next day they had team meeting after a round, and Huntington got a 5-shot lead or something. After round one, I told you guys, and it was kind of like, after day two, they have team meeting in day two, and Huntington increased their lead after 2 days, and so we're playing with Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, I think the last day. And I think those guys went super deep on us the last day and kind of clipped us by 1 or 2 shots. But you had Scott Warseka, who's stripping it all the way down to the chrome, hitting punch shots all day long, and you got me, I'm like 6 foot, 120 pounds, with all this hair, and we look like this ragtag crew, out there just smoking these D1 guys, for 2 days. But it was funny.
Yeah. So who all was on that team? It was
It
you
was,
and Warzeka.
Durant, myself, Scott Warzeka, Jim Meeks, and Patrick Wood. So,
Yeah.
and, Patrick, his flair, he's just the greatest short game artist I've ever seen, even today. He hit 5 greens and shoot 5 under, kind of guy. He was that guy. He chipped in 4 times in a round. But, yeah, that was a great group of boys. We just really got it done.
So did you guys fly out to Houston, or
we
did
did.
you?
Yeah, we had
take a map to Houston?
No, we had one of our trustees back then flew us around in his private jet everywhere we went. So we were the leaders of that. Nobody really did that. Back in those days. D1 didn't do that, but Huntington College did that. We had our own private jet that we were flying almost every tournament we played in. I mean, we went to Gainesville in a private jet just to make a statement. Back then, that was we were kind of the rebels of college golf back then. Coach, he was funny. It was a funny story. Larry Penley, I was talking to him a couple of years back, and he said, "Were you on that team that flew into Pickens and came up in limos to the golf course?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was on that team." That was the kind of stuff that Coach liked to do. He just kind of wanted to be. He had that flair, I mean, private jet into there, and then we rented limos to the golf course. He drove us around in limos while we were at the golf tournament.
It's a lot different. When I played at UNA, we got $5 meal money per meal and a sleeve of Titleist, and we went on the.
Yep. So, yeah, we had our own custom van that we were traveling around in back then, and with a TV in it, and that wasn't happening back in that era, but with anybody but us. Good time.
Absolutely. What when you said you started playing immediately? Did you expect that, or coming in?
I'm that kind of mentality. I expect myself to perform when I was playing, and yeah, I came in the first tournament, qualified in, and that Pickens tournament that I was telling you about. That was my first tournament, and I think I finished second in that tournament. I think Jack Kay won that tournament. My career was off and running at that point, so I don't know if I missed many tournaments. I think I might have missed one tournament my whole career at Huntington, and still today, I'd say I probably played the most college golf of anybody that ever played college golf in the history of college golf. Because Coach we would play 20-something tournaments a year. And the way he set our schedule, he would have so many tournaments set up, and we were NAI at the time, didn't have any rules basically, and so we were just golfing and golfing. I mean, it was crazy. And Coach kind of ran it a little bit different. He would redshirt in the 4th year and bring you back for the 5th year, and you would play every event, and then go out on play professional golf after that. So you get all your school out of the way where you didn't have really any school left when you came back your 5th year, and you just golfed the ball the whole year. So it was actually good. It was kind of an interesting way. He would run the program, but he was producing tour players, which was kind of cool at a small level. I think we had 400 students at that time.
There weren't many rules in NAIA back in those days.
I don't know if they have any rules today in NAIA, but but back then there were no rules. It's a lot of fun when you're playing well, and I was lucky to be on 4 really good teams in college and make a lot of good friends, and we're still friends today. I see that now with the guys that I coach. Even I'm still friends with a lot of the kids that played for me. I talk to them on a weekly or monthly basis. We were just in Rochester this week, and one of my boys, we played there in 2016. One of my boys made it 10 on one of the holes back in 2016, and he hit like 4 balls out of bounds on this one hole. And so we got to that tee box, and one of my guys was teeing off, and I snapped a picture of the tee shot, and I went into my group chat with my team from my 97, and I said, "Chad, do you remember this tee shot? You ought to. You hit it 4 times on the first round, So we had a nice little chat, group chat from my 97 national championship team, and they were all, chiming in, and we had a good laugh for about 15 minutes about that, but
excellent.
great bunch of kids I've been able to coach over the years, and they got another good team this year with good character. They're good in the van, they're good, in school, and they're good players too. Just good young men.
Well, you
Well,
mentioned van. Does that mean the boosters plane has gone away?
Yeah, we're flying commercial now. We flew up this commercial this week. Yeah, I wish those days were still here, but they're not.
What was it like going to the national championship those 4 years in the '80s when you guys were just dominant?
Yeah,
A
that was.
little different vibe, I guess, going there.
Yeah, we played Division I all year long, and then we go to the national championship to see a bunch of teams we'd never seen. And I think we shot 49 under and 87. I think that's something that's still standing as far as a championship win. I'm not sure if we won by 30 or 40 shots that week. It's pretty special. We had I think Joe won. I finished second. Scott finished third or something like that. I think Pat might have finished fifth, and then Jim might have finished eighth or something like that. I think that all five of us were in the top 10 at that tournament, and it was a special week. Those weeks were, going in there knowing that you had a powerhouse team like we had. It was just always fun. Even in '88, we didn't have one of our stronger teams, but we went out and just smoked everybody, which was pretty awesome. And it was I played really. That was the year I won. Individual national championship, and then a couple guys that hadn't played well all year long just played lights out at nationals, and Costner played really good at nationals, and Brad Dean played really well, and then Turk Pettit's dad Kevin played really well. He hadn't played a whole lot that year, but got into the national championship and played really well. I think he was under par that week. And, T.R. Bowles played pretty solid as well. So it was just kind of a fun. That was probably more of a team win than a bunch of guys just going super deep. We were really bonded that week. Because we weren't as strong as we'd been in the past. '88, but it's always fun. Then John Thady came in coaching a couple years later and retooled it with a bunch of really good players and had a bunch of wins. I think he had maybe 3 national championships as well behind us. So producing really good players.
pretty special.
Yeah. It's been a great program. It's just I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be an alumni of it. It's been around for a long time and been at a high level. A lot of good players have played here.
When did you kind of start thinking, hey, I can go do this professionally?
I knew it when I was in college. I think I played my first tour event my junior year in college. I won the American Amateur that year in my junior year, and I got a start at Pensacola Open. And that was my first PGA Tour event my junior year of college. I really felt that at that point I knew I was going to be able to play pro golf, and it was just, that was going to be my trajectory going forward. My body just gave out. It's just, that is what it is. Golf's hard on you. So, I was, like I said, I was slight built younger. And so when I turned pro, it was all about getting bigger and stronger and faster and all that kind of stuff. And, I kind of probably, me and a few of other guys, I kind of led the charge of fitness kind of in golf there for a while. I changed my body. I was 210 pounds at one time in the height of my career when I was playing, from a kid who at age 30 was 140. I just lifting hard and working hard in the gym and doing all the things it took to play professional golf at a high level. And the bigger I got, the better I played, that kind of thing, because I got a little bit more stable in the core and such. And I had a good professional career. I played 17 years pro golf. I had only 1 year on the big tour, but I won 19 times as a professional. None of those being mini tour events. I don't consider Hooters Tour a mini tour event when you're playing 4 days with 170 guys and cut the 70. So,
Yeah.
but and there were a lot of major winners in some of those events that I won. They're really good fields back then. So, I played solid golf for 17 years, and just at that point my body just kind of gave out. I was hoping to be able to play a little bit of senior golf, but it just didn't happen for me.
What was it like the days when you're on the Hooters tour out there?
where you traveled, did you have a guy you traveled with, a companion guy, another player that you guys shared motel rooms with?
Yeah, when I first started pro, Hicks Melanson was my he was the group I kind of hung out with. Hicks and I roomed for probably 6 or 7 years, playing pro golf until he retired. He was always kind of we called him Dad. He ran everything. He would kind of tell us where we're going, where we're staying, and all that kind of stuff. And he would kind of set up a travel plan for like 6 or 7 of us, that we kind of traveled and did our thing together. But after he retired, I kind of did my own thing, yeah, you always kind of find your clique. I think the lower level tours, when guys are trying to kind of, save a little bit of bucks here and there, I think there's a lot more camaraderie there than you get out on tour. There's, guys with wives and stuff like that out there, and it's just, there's not a lot of, it's a little bit lonely out on the big tour and the nationwide tour, because guys aren't doing that like they do on the mini tour or the tours like the Hooters tour back in the day. It's unfortunate they don't have that tour anymore, because there's a lot of young players that are really good out there that could use that tour again. It was a great tour. I mean, like I said, you go down some of the lists of those tournaments and you're going to see a bunch of names that that played high level professional golf and made a lot of money. And that are maybe even still out there on the senior tour that are playing, at that level. I mean, they ran, I guess, from around 90 to 2007 or 8 is when they kind of folded it up. But that was a good run for for them. And they had like I said, I mean that's where Chris and I played a lot of golf together, and it was a really well run tour. I mean, they would have Monday qualifiers with 100 guys trying to get into those events, they would actually, I think they ran them on Tuesday, because I think the nationwide would run theirs on Monday, and then guys that missed that would come down and try to qualify on Tuesday to get into the Hooters event. Yeah. So, and they were full every week, I mean, just, and solid players. I mean, really good players. Zach Johnson played out there, Chad Campbell, and, Ben Curtis, and, Sean McKeel played out there.
I was working at the Decatur Daily, and they, their tournament every year.
Yep.
So they tell me, hey, this guy's leading money winner. And it's like, a young Zach Johnson.
Yep.
And do an interview, do a story, and then lo and behold, he doesn't show up because he's qualified for the nationwide tour.
Yeah. Yep. So there was a lot of really good players. I always enjoyed the Decatur Daily tournament. I actually played quite well there over the years. So that was one of the more. I was considered a major for us over the years, which was pretty awesome. And then I think last year they moved it. They played it at Burning Tree. I think that was the last time we were there. We played one of our majors at Burning Tree before they moved it away from Point Mallard. So, but yeah. But they were.
Yeah, I'm not sure when.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not sure when. I was trying to think of when we first met, and it could have been, some kind of junior stuff. I know that we played a lot of college golf together, and then, amateur stuff. You were always coming up to the Spirit at Burning Tree. You played there a lot.
Yep.
And then you were always would see you at Point Mallard at the Hooters event. Let's fast forward just a little bit. Let's get to 92.
Oh, okay.
You're on the regular tour, I believe, at that time, right?
Yeah.
I was at the St. Jude Classic.
Oh yeah,
watched you play the tournament, and I remember I was sharing this with Greg. It's this story, but I'll kind of set it up, and you tell us a little bit about it. But I know that in the final round, I watched you play all 18 holes. We had a nice talk afterwards, but you were paired, I think, with Olafable.
Yep.
And do you remember who the third was?
I was trying to think of that the other day, and I can't remember who it was. I know I played with Calcavecchia in round 1 and 2. And
I was thinking that it was Olafable and Calcavecchia, but I'm not positive. But I do remember.
It might have been Cal. I played with I had Andy Bean round 1, which was so funny. I don't know. It was probably the end of Andy Bean's career. And he kind of he hi-hatted me on the first hole, they wouldn't shake my hand. I introduced myself and would put my hand out, and he didn't shake my hand. And I was like, wow, you jerk, I'm gonna hand it to him today, and I did,
You did. Well, I remember. It seems like you shot 65 or 66 in that last round.
I did, yeah.
I think it's 65.
Yeah, so one of the
So
right around there.
You played some phenomenal golf. Tell us about that day and that week.
Yeah, that was a fun week. I actually had my brother-in-law was on my golf bag. I was staying with my teammate Jim Meek, who was on all those teams. He was actually living in Memphis at that time, so it was a really good week. Had a family member on my bag and had my teammate with me, out there, and it was just kind of one of those magical weeks when you're playing well and you're getting to play with top player in the world like Old Thobel, and Kakavecki was playing really well in his career at that time, and for me, when I get comfortable, I always knew I had great skills because I was the one holding on to the grip, but if it was going where it was looking, I felt like I could play with anybody, and I always felt that way, that's my mentality, if the ball was going where I was looking, because I had a good short game and I was a really good putter, and so if it was going where I was looking, I was going to be in contention. That week was fun. I just, I really liked that golf course. I think that was my first introduction to Zoysia fairways, and just at the time, I think and I just love that grass. I mean, it just really just set up. I mean, I'm a picker, so I never really take much of a divot, and so I was just peeling it off top of that stuff and just not touching. I mean, you wouldn't even know I was there that week, I don't know if I took a divot the whole week, but because that grass is so perfect. But I was like, man, this stuff is the greatest grass on the planet. I just want to set my career around Zoysia fairways. But but yeah, it was just a lot of fun. I only remember parts of it because I played so much golf over my career, and as I'm getting older, I can't remember yesterday. But yeah, it was a fun week.
And I'm one day older than you.
That's right. We are right next to each other. You're the 14th, I'm the 15th. So
yeah.
It's funny. Chris and I tell each other happy birthday every year for like the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. It's good stuff. Well, go ahead, Greg.
Well, I'm just going to say, Chris was telling me about the 97 U.S. Open. You had one of your pairings was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
A guy nobody really ever heard of.
No, they don't hear much about him.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I qualified for the Open in 97. I was playing really well. My home course in Atlanta. I think I shot like 62 to get it into the second stage, and I went up to Columbus where the tour site was, and I think I shot 66, 67 or something like that. Columbus Country Club in Lakeside. Got in. I think I was low there too as well. We left there and went to play in a Hooters event in, I think, Champaign, Illinois or something, in El Paso, Illinois. And little tight little golf course. And the rough was like 7-8 inches. And I won there and then left there to go to the Open. And I hit a lot of those little slip wedges the whole week at that tournament, and just managed the golf and the high rough really well. And I got to the golf tournament at Congressional, and I was playing really well just off this really tight golf course. And now I'm at Congressional, where 35-yard fairways with 11 inches of rough kind of stuff. But it was a big golf course, and it felt like I drove it like a madman. I think I hit 49 to 56 fairways at the Open that year. Which you do that at an Open, you're probably going to be in contention if you're not doing anything stupid from their end. But I managed my game from their end, and had the lead in round one for most of the day. I 3-putted 18, and I fell back. I shot 68 the first day. I think Hal Sutton may have had the lead in round one, and round two came around, and I got off to a hot start and got the lead back, or was tied for the lead for a little while in round two, and kind of faltered coming in a little bit. I think I was in fourth or fifth, and I had Tiger on Saturday, which was, I'm sitting there going, we're lining up and get to play with him. I'm thinking, I play with him. Wow, it was. I didn't know what I was. I wanted to play with him so bad I couldn't stand it, and got in there, and man, the crowds were crazy difficult to play with him. I played in South Africa for a couple of years, and Nick Price. I got to know Nick really well, and I saw Nick in the locker room, and he had played with him for the first 2 days, and he's like, dude, he said it's tough. He said the crowds are really loud and very uneducated, so be patient and all that kind of stuff. And he was right. It was more than I was expecting. I'd never had that before. One, crowd's that big. I think we had 10,000 people probably walking with us on every hole. My parents were there. I never saw my parents the whole day. That's how many, and they walked all 18 holes where they could get in, and I never saw them the whole day. Just because of the number of people that were there. It was crazy. But that was the year he won the Masters first year. And he'd signed the big contract with Nike, and people were there just to see the $60 million guy. And it was tough. They were, like I said, like Nick said, they were very uneducated. So he holed out. They started walking to the next hole. And I think I was then 3 putts that day, just because I was standing over putts and people were making noise and moving and stuff. I just didn't handle it very well. We couldn't get them to stop, and I said I'd never been around that. At that time in my career, I think I was 30, that in '97. So, but it was a learning experience. I played well on Sunday, to bounce back, but that day I think I shot 82. I think he didn't play all that well either. I think he shot 78, but. It was fun, career changer, I guess, kind of, I didn't take it that way, but, I took it as more of a defeat than anything, but looking back at it, it's great, good memory to have.
So you're saying the 400 people who watched you win in Champaign didn't translate to
You're being generous at 400. You're being extremely generous at 400 people. Maybe 40. The guys cutting the grass and everything else. It's funny. I wouldn't even think there were that many people there. So.
That was Congressional was a tough setup.
Yes, it was.
I think there was a 500-yard par 4 on the back nine.
I was on the front. I think it was
10
7
yards of fairway where you could land it in.
Yeah, it was tight. I think it was. I think it was on the front nine, wasn't it? 7? Yeah, 7. Yeah, 7. No, 6. 6. Par 3,
just
7.
Long and straight.
Yeah, it's long and straight, but it was 500 yards, and that was we weren't playing what they're playing with now. Yeah, we were playing Pro V1, and I think I was hitting wood. I was still hitting wood at that time. I had steel shaft and a wood driver that week, so yeah, I was playing Tour Balata. So 500-yard par 4. I think I hit driver 2-iron into that thing both days. So, and I think I hit it first 2 days. Actually, I know I actually hit that green all 4 days. So, and I was pumping 2-iron all 4 days into that green. So, but yeah, that was a tough setup. The second hole, the par 3 up the hill, the day I played with Tiger, he hit in front of me. No, I parred the first hole. I hit 3-wood because it was 245. To a back pin, and I just tried to cut a 3-wood up in there, and I missed it in the right rough next to the green. And Tiger, I think, hit 4-iron, and hit this 4-iron that came off the club, and it was just like a wedge when it came off the club so high. And I mean, I looked at my caddy, and he looked at me, and he goes, "What?" I said, "Yeah, that was awesome." I was like, "Holy!" And it was hitting right in the middle of the green, and it was like probably a 235. 4-iron right in the middle of the green, and nobody was doing that back at that time. I mean, not even close, to that kind of length. Crazy. And that day, I mean, he had a couple T-balls that were 75 yards past me, and I wasn't short. I mean, I was 280, 290, off the tee, those upper half, lengthwise, and with a wood head, and he was 75 yards by me on one of the par 5s on the back 9. He had an iron into it, and I laid up with wood. So, he was special. I mean, crazy. But now they're all that way. I mean, kids are all have what he has now. So which is nuts. So I watch kids on my team. They hit it so far. It's crazy.
That's That's a good story, and like you said, it's a good memory.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the distance on that. If you were hitting at 280 and 290 back then, that was not short.
No, not short at all.
It might be considered these days, but that's not short.
Yeah, but back then, I mean,
at all.
when the tour average was, I think daily was like, 297, 298 was longest on tour back then. So I was upper half. I was hitting in long drive contests on the nationwide tour back in 2001 or so. So I was definitely upper half in length in that era.
Yeah. So as you bring up the distance that the guys on your team are hitting it now, that's a good segue into you as the head coach and director of golf there at Huntington. And let's move in and talk a little bit about what you got going on there.
Yeah, it's great. I'm in my 13th year here at Huntington. We've had last 9 years we've had NCAA championship runs, getting to the championship, and we've had 2 runner-ups, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth in that area. And then we had I think an 11th a couple of years back in those stretch. But we've had a chance. Last year we got within 3 shots with 9 holes to play and shot 8 over on our back. but we've been right there, 2 runner-up finishes, and right in the middle of it with 9 holes to play, or right in the middle of it with only a couple holes to play, So I figure sooner or later we keep getting in position. We'll sooner or later win one. But you got to keep getting in position.
How did the opportunity to get to Huntington kind of present itself, and when did you maybe start thinking about it later in your professional career?
Yeah, so when I finished playing in 2007, and I went directly into teaching back home in Atlanta. I taught for the Candidate system for 9 years. To 13. So I guess I finished actually in 2005 was the last year I played. And I still teach, actually still teach some in the off season back there. But I was teaching full time for them. And I was just hovered up in lessons. I was doing, close to 2,000 lessons a year for, 7-8 years. My back just got so bad from standing on the range. Never had a back problem when I was playing, but just standing on the range, bending down, teeing balls up, teaching, that kind of stuff. My back just probably because I played so much golf. My back said finally, "Hey, give me a break," and he started just caking arthritis in there like you can't believe. So I ended up having back surgery in 2012, and while recovering, the job opened up at Huntington, and our current president was the one that was doing the Anthony Lee was the one that was doing the backgrounds, trying to find people, and he called me and asked me if I knew of anybody who was interested, and maybe if I was interested in that. And I kind of thought about it. The things that I loved about teaching, the thing that I loved about teaching was working with tour players, and working with college players and high school players that were competitive. Didn't really enjoy that much of the teaching the average Joe or the beginner or anything like that. It just wasn't a lot of fun for me. But I did enjoy working with tour players, and I did enjoy working with, good players. I worked a little bit with Luke List and Turk Pettit, Stephen Yeager, and I've had a few conversations about putting. And so for me, that was what I liked, and being able to be a college coach, that's something I could bring to the table at Division III level. Division III is a little bit different. One, you got to be ready to go at Division I, Power Fives. If you're stepping in and you need to be developed, you're not going to play. There's a lot of young players out there that have really good talent, and they're just underdeveloped. And at our level, that's my niche here. Being able to bring guys in and make them better. One of the NSR coaches recently told me that I was like one of the top developers in the country. At our level, and that's a nice compliment that he gave me. And I really feel like that's my specialty. I bring to the table as a coach is you're going to come play for me, and I'm going to make you better. I'm super hands-on. It's a little different. Guys come in with their own coaches, and I work through their coaches, try to take an active role with the people that they work with, or if they work with me. My job as a coach is to maintenance my boys in season and help them develop out of season, that kind of stuff when we're, kind of doing the things that we need to do to get them better. The dynamic of being a D3 coach is a little bit different than D1, but we play high level golf. You look at the scores, I think 30 under 1 in Rochester this week, high level golf. I don't care where you're playing at. And that's a really good golf course up at Midvale, and Cobblestone's considered one of the harder courses in that area. So, just really good players at every level nowadays. The top teams at every level are really good. The dynamic of golf right now is changing, and college golf with the rules that are fixing to change is going to be a little bit different, and how it trickles down to us, and which makes it a little bit different these days. And coaching is changing, and it just kind of, the dynamics of it are, and we had a lot of coaches moves this year in our division. I think we had 7 coaches changes this year. Guys moving out, guys retiring, guys getting out, just because of all the changes that are coming down the road.
What's your pitch to recruits? So many kids get focused on, I got to go D1.
Yeah.
What's your kind of pitch? And I know that there's no athletic scholarships per se, but there's academic money available.
These kids a lot of times don't understand the academic part. I mean, scholarship is scholarship. I've had several of them say, "Oh yeah, you don't give scholarships." I said, "Yeah, but we do." I mean, you're probably going to get the same scholarship with us as that you're going to get at this other school. It's just not It's just not athletic. It doesn't have athletic written next to it. Our academic scholarships are pretty big. You're probably going to get if you're a decent student, you're going to get 50%, and if you're going to, some mid-major, you're probably going to get 50% there as well, so you're going to be paying the same amount. Our program is much better than a lot of those mid-major schools, and
Right.
Our facilities are much better, and we got a $500,000 indoor facility that we opened up in January this past year with all the bells and whistles, TrackMans and catalyst force plates and pressure plates and video and everything. We've got our TJ Prattville, which is, awesome. 360-degree driving range. You got Montgomery Country Trail across the street, Wind Lakes. I mean, how can you beat that? We've got 5-6 golf courses that within 8 miles from campus that we're, have rights at, to play at, practice at, on a daily basis. So, we have to offer, a high level program, and I run it like a D1 program here. Guys coming in, and we're traveling. And got a really big budget, and the college knows that we're going to put a good product out on the course, and high level, and the trustees want that, because the trustees are all the people I went to school with back in the 80s. And that's what they want, a high level golf program here. So we've been that since the 80s, and we'll continue that way.
That's interesting that you mentioned that. And of course, the facilities probably one of the biggest selling points these days to kids. What courses am I going to get to play?
Right.
Having the indoor facility, same thing.
I mean, that's a big investment. Having all the technical gear, the TrackMans and the force plates, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I've been wanting that for some time. Last year it came about really quick, actually. And if you know what Huntington's going through right now, they're making a lot of facility changes and upgrades and everything. They've done it to bringing in a lot of different sports. We're putting in a new student center, I think $4 or $5 million student center they're fixing to put in. They knocked down one of the old dorms, and they're putting that in, for a place for the kids to kind of go, hang out. And it's growing. I mean, the college is making leaps and bounds forward, which is pretty awesome that they're going that route. But they're also putting the money back into the facilities. Our lifeblood is athletics. I mean, we're probably 85% athletic generated here as far as people on campus playing a sport. So we got about 1,000 students, and probably say 850 of them are playing sport of some kind. We've got 22 and fixing to have 23 with women's football, flag football starting soon. So if they're not playing a sport, they're probably supporting sport through band or cheer or athletic training or something like that. So the facilities are important. Having really good facilities and having a really good strength conditioning program for our sports is extremely important for the retention of the students and what we have here, going forward. We're a very healthy school right now, which is pretty awesome. With the economy the way it is, and what people are having to pay to go to schools these days, it's an exciting place to be a part of. And we just have a new president sign on in July, Anthony Lee, who's been with us for as a vice president role for a few years. Cam West did a great job his years here, and he's going to be on for, I think, another year or so, just kind of in the transition. But Anthony's taken over, and Anthony was head of alumni relations for a number of years, and he's probably the biggest golf fan on campus. He loves golf. He loves our guys. He travels, every time we travel, and we're getting emails and text messages from him, when he's watching us and everything. So he's going to be, just another feather in Huntington's cap as far as what he does. And he worked with KIV for a while, and he's really well connected. So he's going to do a great job as our new president.
Always good to have the top man on your side.
Yeah. I think he tweeted out, I think last year, he loved to tweet. He tweeted out last year that we were a golf college. So Huntington College, we're a golf college kind of thing, So that always makes us feel good, and like it keeps the guys knowing that they're kind of the tip of the spear of the athletic program. So we have always kind of said that, and we hope to kind of maintain that at Huntington College as being a golf college. So
tell us a little bit more about the team that you've got this year and what's coming up.
So I'm still young. I'll have these guys one more year after this year. Last year we were juniors and freshmen and juniors basically, or freshmen and sophomores playing last year at the national championship. I got everybody back. Jack Burr, who was my top player last year, he went into the portal. He's at South Florida now, and that's kind of the world we're living in right now. With the NIL, it's the trickle down of the NIL. Our guys aren't making money off the NIL, but they're getting picked up for free education, and that's kind of their thing. Power Fives are pulling the mid-major players, and the mid-major players are the mid-majors are pulling our players, and then we're out there trying to find the players and that kind of stuff. But they don't really have the time to develop players, so they're picking up guys that are proven. So they're going down and they're grabbing the guys in the mid-majors that are really playing well. And mid-majors are turning around and picking up Division II and Division III top players, and so we're losing guys to that. They're getting their school paid for, where they're paying to go to school at Division III. And with what's coming down the pipeline, the 9 scholarships and stuff like that, and trimming the scholarship, it's just going to be another area where guys are going to be moving from Division I down to 2 and possibly 3, and there's going to be more freshmen available 2 and 3 in AIA, because the top schools and even mostly the mid-majors are going to stop really recruiting mid-freshmen. I mean, Jack, like I said, Jack Burr was playing for me. He's now at South Florida. He was the number 6 player in the nation. And that's kind of, his NIL kind of thing. So that's kind of the trickle down. The freshmen, when Jack was being recruited out of the portal, I had coaches call me, and I'm like, how do you have scholarships late this way? He said, well, we don't recruit freshmen anymore. We basically live in the portal nowadays. That's the only way they can compete with guys, that are proven college players. That these are a couple of schools that are really good schools. Really good players on their teams. I think one at that time, I think it was Virginia Tech or Virginia Commonwealth. Can't remember which one it was, but he had his top player taken by Georgia, and now he's coming down and taking our top player, kind of thing. And that's what's happening. And the freshmen are sitting back here trying to find a place to play. And if they're, just a little bit not one of the top players in the country, they're struggling to find a spot. I don't know when the NCAA is going to make these changes for golf. I'm assuming it's for next year, but I don't know. It's going to be a different world we're living in. That's for sure. I watch some of these schools here in the state that are signing all these freshmen, and I'm like, are they going to be able to have the spots for these guys? They're going to have to trim the roster here shortly if this goes down. And he's got 15 players over there right now. He's bringing in 5 freshmen, So where are those guys going?
Yeah.
I mean, so it'll be interesting what we see.
How do you kind of identify what freshmen or high school seniors
are
right for your program?
I'm probably the one guy that probably goes out and watches more golf than anybody in the area. I go to tournaments, man. I'm out there. Like I said, a lot of recruiting. I'm on the road a lot, watching these kids play, and talent is what I have to recruit. That's my thing. I try to recruit talent. I'm looking to see what these kids can do and what I can, I know what I can do as far as a coach wise to make them better. And that's kind of my approach, is getting out there, beating the bush, trying to find the kids that I like as a person, because I got to put them in the van with me for 8 hours at times. coaching has changed so much over the years. I mean, it's like when I first started, it was like writing these emails, and now it's like a one-line text. Get them to social media as much as possible. I'm recruiting off social media now, which is crazy. Never thought that would ever happen. But it is what it is nowadays. That's part of it. So, I get an email from a kid. First thing I do is I go to social media and try to find them on social media to see what they look like on social media. That's always a indication of what you're going to get. And then when I'm following them, I always kind of like to watch how they play. I always tell everybody I like to see a kid when he's playing bad. I like to see what I'm getting when he's playing bad, because everybody's great when they're playing good. But I want to know what kind of fighter he is, and how he acts when he's playing poorly, and how is he going to represent my school, on a bad day. I learn a lot more on those days about anything, right, basically, when I'm watching a kid. But a kid that just gutting it out there, and putting everything on the line on a day when it's not going well, that's the kids I like. That's the guys that I know they can play. I'm out there recruiting because I've already checked them out, the recruiting sites and everything else, as far as their numbers and what they've shot in the past or whatever, and that kind of stuff. So it's always good to kind of see how they respond to adversity, out on the golf course, that kind of stuff. So when, at our level, you're going to have those kids that are showing the signs of golf that are 68 one day, 77 the next, kind of thing. I know I can teach that kid how to shoot 77, how to shoot 73. That's just most of the time that's just mental mistakes or short game stuff, or just doing stupid stuff out there on the golf course. Just immaturity. Our job as coaches are to help them mature a little bit in the game and mature in life. Yeah, it's something I don't take lightly when parents bring a kid to come play for me. That's just something I don't take lightly. They're trusting me to be able to help mold their kid, because they're not going to be there, and that's important to me, that I can have a program that helps these kids to mature a little bit in life and mature a bit in their game, and that's, like I said, that when they trust me to let me coach them for 4 years, that's something I don't take lightly. So it's very important to me. I give opportunities. I do a lot of B team events for guys to be able to show what they can do. We'll run 4 B team events a year, so everybody on my squad is going to play at least 4 tournaments, and not many schools can say they do that. But guys come in here and they sit for a year or two, and then all of a sudden they find their game. And a lot of times when they go, bigger, they don't ever get an opportunity to find their game. But they get to pay, it's the trade-off of carrying a big name bag or carrying a bag of a Division III school or a NAI school. I always tell everybody, you go on the PGA Tour and pull up the profiles and see where all those guys played college golf at. Most of the time they're at a small school that you never heard of. So it kind of is. Yeah, it really is.
Greg? We appreciate your time, Dave. Informative, fun. I'd like to hear the stories you can't tell sometime.
I was thinking about one last night, and I was like, I could never tell that story. That's terrible. I was a professional one back in the day. It's probably one of the funniest golf stories in the history of funny golf stories, but I can't tell that one. I think I'll have to tell you that one. That was probably one of the more hilarious stories ever in college golf that ever happened to anybody. So, and then I had another one, like I said, the professional one was almost as funny, but they're not for this.
Well, thank you so much. Best of luck to you and the Huntington Hawks the rest of this year. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the podcast, and maybe we can have you on again sometime soon.
And good luck with the podcast. I listened to Nick's last week. It was great. So I'll be a fan going forward.
Well, thank you.
All right, Greg. All right, Chris. Good seeing you, Greg.
Sure.
I want to thank Dave Schreyer for joining us on this week's podcast. Some great stories. Great guy to talk to. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Looking forward to next week when we'll be joined by Kathy Hartwiger, who owns the record in Alabama Golf Association tournament titles. She's recently moved to Pinehurst, and she'll tell us a little bit about what she's doing now and her time playing golf in Alabama and dominating the Alabama Golf Association women's tournaments. Looking forward to seeing y'all next week.